Hello. I'm sorry you're not getting a prettier sight than this, but it's the best I can do right now because I feel like this topic needs to be addressed. Relationships, marriages in particular. And I'm hearing a lot of back and forth and a lot of negative things, and women are nuts or they're gold diggers. And from the females, the guys are jerks. And I can see the truth on both sides, and I can also see where they're mistaken. Marriages are not easy. Anyone that says their marriage is easy, they're either delusional or their partner just caves into them or something. I don't know. I've never run into anyone that's ever said their marriage was easy. Never. But it's worth it. It's really worth it, especially if you have children. The better your marriage, the happier your kids are. It really, there's such a correlation between the two. It's incredible. I've noticed it in my own life. I've noticed it in the lives of others. When things go wrong with their marriage, their kids are a barometer. The kids, you can tell by looking, just seeing what's going on with their children, if there's conflict in the marriage. And I think a lot of people, everyone's so busy looking for Mr. or Miss Right, and they're not spending enough time becoming Mr. or Miss Right. If you think the other person's going to fulfill you, you're not going to be happy. The marriage is going to be even tougher than you think it is. And if we would spend more time, I am still, after 20 plus years of marriage, I am still working on becoming Mrs. Right for my husband. It's an ongoing thing. And because we've changed. We've changed. We've gone through some pretty bad times. We even split up for a while. And fortunately we got back together and made it work better than it ever was before. And it's important. We've learned. And if people think this is, this because we got a good combination, our personality tests, we have the worst combination of personalities to put together in any relationship, any partnership. We have the most opposite, well, not exactly opposite, but the most conflicting personalities to put together. So I'm coming from a very difficult stance telling you it's worth it. And I probably have, my husband, not just me, we've worked hard on this relationship together. And people think, when they hadn't known us very long, they think that we're almost newlyweds, because we do. We act like newlyweds. We're constantly flirting with each other and giving each other looks in public and in private. This is not a show for other people. This is how we are. And people are amazed when they hear that we've been married over 20 years. 21 years will be our anniversary later this year. So, and we were together for a couple of years before that. And it's how we've changed and what kind of marriage we wanted. This is, I like it when you treat me this way. I don't like it when you do this. And we did that for each other and say, oh, you like it when I flirt with you. My husband loves that. I like it too. And I know I do not look as good as I did 20 years ago. You should see my wedding pictures. And I look back and I didn't think of myself as all that great. I knew I wasn't ugly. But I look back and I go, darn, I was hot. And I know, I'm a grandmother now. I've got so many grays, and my body, after the second child, it just never got back to what it was. But he still looks at me like he did 20 years ago. And that means a lot. I don't look for that in anybody else. We've gone through the tough times together, and now I think we're reaping some of the rewards. It's still not easy. We have had conflict just this week. But I just take it as par for the course. We're just going to do that until we get better, and it resolved itself much quicker than it would have done 10 years ago. So, and about marriage, I think the number one reason marriages fail, statistically speaking, is the money issues. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, because I think in the end it comes back to, I can sum up whether the reason for divorce was money issues or Sex, that's another big one. But I think in the end, it can all be summed up in one word: selfishness. And it's not just, it's rarely it's one-sided. It's rarely her fault or his fault. It's their fault that the marriage didn't work, or the marriage, just as it's both sides when the marriage is succeeding. They both get credit for that, and they both get blame when it's not doing well. And selfishness is the number one reason. When marriage is about becoming one flesh, you would know more. If you're right-handed, you're not going to crush your left hand because it's not the dominant hand. And yet I've seen it time and time in relationships and I've seen both sides, husbands and wives, do that to the other, where they tear down that person so badly. And it just breaks my heart. I'm counseling someone right now and how she treats her husband, and she doesn't see it. She really doesn't see it. And I've been pointing out that, she was complaining about her husband. I said, well, he's not that way when he's just around us. He's only that way when he's around you because you punish him for behaving the way you say you want him to behave. And she just doesn't see it. So I've been just praying for her and just consistently, pointing it back out to her that she's doing that. She's shooting her own foot. And I don't counsel men. That's my husband's place. I don't sit there and chit-chat with guys, except for online like this, and he's normally looking over my shoulder, by the way, and I look over his shoulder online. Not that we don't trust each other, because I've got some story that shows the trust that we have, but it's about just being in tune with, what's the other one doing. And that's important because we care. It's important to know what your spouse is up to. Not just finding out things secondhand or way after the fact. And it's not good nor bad. It's just being aware. These are not critical things. But back to selfishness. If you're not the right person to marry, it doesn't matter if you pick the most perfect person on the planet. You're gonna sabotage the relationship. That's just all there's gonna be. I see where I've sabotaged my relationship. I no longer expect my husband to read my mind. I send him an email of what I want for my birthday or Christmas with links to it so there's no misunderstanding exactly what I want. And a lot of times he'll surprise me with something, that's comparable or something else that I've mentioned that I didn't put on my email, but because we've gotten to know each other. But I don't expect him to come up with something because he's a guy. Guys think differently. Even though I think in my mentality, I think more like a guy than I do a woman. I'm still a woman. And there are still differences. Even though, women need to understand. Guys are not that TV Prince Charming. He's totally fictional. He doesn't exist in real life. And if he does exist, it's only for little spurts of time when our husbands get those things right, and then the rest of the time we just need to enjoy what we have. That's all there is. It's so simple, and yet we've made it complicated because we want what we want when we want it. That's selfishness. If you sit back and just enjoy it, it's so much better. And ladies, I highly recommend, let's see if I can get this on here. It's hard for me to see the screen. Dr. Laura's Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. She addresses if you're married to one of the 3 A's, those are her deal breakers: adultery, addictions, and abusers. If you are married to a guy that's one of the 3, and sometimes there's a combination going on, you need to get help for yourself. Don't read the rest. Don't read the book. Her intro kind of has that. Her forward talks about that. And if you're reading this book to manipulate your husband into doing things for you, don't do that. It's going to backfire. Even if you do get initially the results you wanted, it's going to backfire. And like an example, not backfiring, but, and some people thought, oh, you're just doing that to manipulate your husband. Anytime my husband's doing stuff in the kitchen, he is a good cook, by the way. All my family, everyone's a good cook. When he's in the kitchen and he's cooking or he's doing the dishes or just putting things away, it's hot. I tell you, it is, to me, it's very sexy. And I tell him, I was like, oh, honey, you know, and he just smiles at me. Um, and when I've shared this with young couples, they're going, oh, yeah, yeah, you're just trying to get him to do the dishes more. I was like, no, it really is a turn on. I'm not manipulating him. He knows manipulation. You know, he's been through it with other people. I've probably been guilty of trying to manipulate him too. And he knows that those are things. If you want to turn on a woman, I think most women will agree too, especially ones that have kids, that when the husband goes in there and he does stuff in the kitchen, he's not doing it because he wants sex later that night. He's doing it because he loves me, because he wants to help me out. Even though he's the one that works a full-time job, there are days I am stressed out far more because of family situations and taking care of grandkids, my mother, and my dad was going through cancer, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And when he would just do the slightest little thing that just blessed me, or I go in the kitchen, it's already cleaned, and I was expecting to go in there and just spend a few cleaning up everything, and he's done it. I was like, oh, I got to run to him and just tell him how much I appreciate it and what a blessing he is, and just love on him, because he just, I now have the time. Instead of cleaning the kitchen, I get to love on him. So it's a win-win. And we need to look more for those kind of things, and we need to let him know. And a lot of women have the attitude, well, I do it all the time, why, so when he does it, why should I thank him for it? We all want to be thanked. We all want to be appreciated. If you want your husband appreciating you, ladies, appreciate him. Appreciate him. I think one of the worst things, and I've seen it too much in other people, is calling your spouse dumb, or treating them like they're an idiot. Well, that idiot chose you to marry, and you can either make that the best decision of his life or the worst. It's up to you, not him. If you're already married, are you a blessing to your husband, or are you a curse to him? The Bible says it's better to live on a corner of a rooftop than in a mansion with a contentious wife. I believe it. There's households where I've walked into, and the attitude of what's going on with the spouses is like, oh, please, let's get out of here quick. I don't want to be in there, and that poor guy's stuck there. And the women, it really is. I don't care what kind of marriage arrangement, if he's the sole provider or you both work or what, the woman sets the tone in the house. It's rare. I've rarely seen a man. I don't recall ever seeing a man set the tone in the home. It's always the woman. You can walk in and you feel her personality no matter what. And you can also, I think I'm sensitive enough, and I think most people are too, if they would pay attention to what's going on. And ladies, if you be your husband's cheerleader, you're going to be blessed. You're just going to just read this book if you need help. You don't have to be a Christian or a Jew to understand her teachings, though she does base it on that. And wisdom is wisdom, no matter the source of it. So I guess my big thing is people blaming other people for failures in relationship. I've been through a divorce. I could blame my ex-husband, but in the end, it was me. So anyway, hope you learned something, and I hope I can help.